In the last video, we unboxed and built up the Kostrikin HT Trail, the first production frame from California custom frame builder Kostrikin Bikes. Kostrikin took his 40 years of custom frame building experience and designed a high-quality factory-built hardtail frame at a very affordable price of $699 US. I had a lot of people reach out to me wanting to know how this bike rides. So in this video, we're going to do a bike check and ride review. If you want to learn more about the frame itself, I'll leave a link to the build video in the description. Before we talk about how the bike rides, let's go over how I spec the bike. The parts you build a hardtail with will have a noticeable impact on the ride quality and performance. We'll talk about what I used and why I chose the parts that I chose. The HT Trail is a slack hardtail frame designed for 140 to 160 millimeters of travel. It's intended to be run as a mullet, and it can be built as a full 27.5 bike. For this build, I went with a 160 millimeter Marzocchi Bomber Z1 coil fork. The coil fork is heavier than the air version, but a coil has excellent small bump sensitivity. That means more front wheel traction and comfort. Setup is relatively simple and it doesn't require a shock pump. The drivetrain is SRAM 12-speed. It's a mix of GX Eagle, XO1 Eagle, and XX1 parts. The shifter and cassette are GX Eagle. The derailleur is XO1 in this sick red color that is perfect for this build. The chain is this black XX1 chain. I gave it a hot wax treatment which makes for super smooth shifting while repelling grime and dirt. I won't have to lube this chain for a while. The cranks are Truvative Stylo, which are basically rebranded NX Eagle cranks. The chainring itself is a 30-tooth, which is a little bit smaller than what I'm used to. The smaller chainring is less likely to smack on a rock, and for good measure, I added an E13 bash guard. Keeping my feet attached to the bike are my go-to Canfield crampon mountain pedals. The choice of the SRAM drivetrain is for simplicity. SRAM is very easy to set up and keep dialed. I'm also finding that I prefer SRAM's gearing. For the wheel set, I went with one of my favorites, the industry Nine Enduro S. American-made wheels that are tough and reasonably priced. These have the 1-1 hubs, which are more budget-friendly but still very high engagement. Not quite the angry beehive sound of the Hydra hubs, more like an angry hornet's nest. At about 1,850 grams for an enduro-rated set of wheels, these strike a fantastic balance of weight and strength. I've had good luck with these wheels in the past. For the tires, I chose the Continental Kryptotal in the lightweight trail casing. Now don't get hung up on the words lightweight trail casing. It's not really light. It's a pretty burly carcass, just not as crazy as their other gravity offerings. It's been a few years since I've ran Contis, and one of the distinguishing features of Continental's aggressive tires is that they are a very snug fit. It sucks when you have to install them or remove them, but if your tubeless tape game is strong, they will hold air indefinitely. I went with the trail casing and the harder rubber compound for a couple of reasons. I wanted a faster rolling tire for the local trails. The bigger knobs on the tires should dig into loose terrain in the midsummer loose conditions. I really like the enduro casing versions that I tried during my recent visit to California, and I'm thinking that the trail version will suit the local terrain here. For the stopping power, I went with a set of Magura MT7 brakes with the Magura MDRP floating rotors. These are powerful 4-piston brakes. For this brake set, I decided to upgrade the levers to the super adjustable HC3 levers. The MT7 brakes are powerful and have fantastic modulation and are customizable. The headset and stem are from Industry 9. They're high quality and made in the US. I went with a shorter 32mm stem. The reason for the shorter stem is due to the long 460mm reach on the size medium frame. I'm typically accustomed to reach numbers in the 440 to 455 range. How reach numbers feel in the real world really depend on a number of factors that we'll get into in the video, and we'll see how it feels once I hit the trails. Stems are an easy way to dial in the fit of a bike. The rest of the touch points consist of a used set of Chromag carbon handlebars, Spank grips that I got cheap, WTB Volt titanium rail saddle, and a OneUp dropper post with 180 millimeters of travel. I'm rarely able to run a dropper post this long, thanks to this wonderfully short and straight seat tube. Activating the dropper is my go-to Wolf Tooth Components dropper lever. I have to admit, I'm loving the look of this build. Overall total weight with pedals came in at a surprising 30.9 pounds. Considering that this bike has a heavy coil fork, enduro wheels, and a heavier set of tires, that's pretty awesome. A switch to an air fork would easily bring this steel hardtail to less than 30 pounds. That's impressive. I took this bike out on a few different trails to see how it performs in a variety of conditions. In my view, a good hardtail should be an effective climber and a capable descender. I built up this frame with the most aggressive spec it's designed for, a mullet with 160 millimeters of front travel. This puts the bike's angles at their slackest, meaning very descent focused. In my view, a good hardtail, at a minimum, should be a strong climber. Not every climb is a fire road, and often we're presented with challenging technical climbs. It's not always a matter of spinning in the big granny gear. How balanced a bike geometry is can make a world of difference in how it handles. It's been a pretty wet spring, and I spent some time on some more technical trails in the area to see how well rounded this bike is. These trails are rooty, rocky, and undulating, with lots of steep sections. Slow tech, if you will. I've always been a bit of a skeptic when it comes to the mullet design, especially on this type of terrain. But I was pleasantly surprised. The bike handled itself well. The only limitations were my own abilities.
There we go. It's a tough climb. That was a hard gear. Let's go back and do another run up.
A lot of mullet bikes I've ridden tended to force your weight a little more rearward, which makes going up steeps a bit more difficult. I didn't find that to be the case with the HT Trail. The front tire stayed planted on all but the most steep sections. Sometimes getting to your big descent will require you to get through some technical climb sections, and the HT Trail did well in this regard. One other thing I noticed was the lack of pedal strikes. On these rocky trails, I experienced noticeably fewer pedal strikes than I've experienced on different bikes I've ridden here. The bike feels low to the ground, but the bottom bracket isn't so absurdly low that it's unrideable in technical terrain. On more typical climbs, the riding position was comfortable and upright. You can get settled into an easier gear and take your time getting to the top. Overall, this bike was a good climber given the slack 63.9 degree head angle.
Considering that how steep this is, this bike is doing a good job.
This bike really shines when pointed downhill. The tall stack, the low standover, and the mullet setup offer an abundance of confidence. If you stay centered over the bottom bracket, the bike is basically point and shoot. The front tire stays planted and gripping. The triple-butted 4130 frame is wonderfully supple and really absorbs trail chatter. Keep in mind that I'm running 2.4-inch Continental Kryptotal tires. They are not masking any harshness by any means. On every ride, I found myself wanting to go faster. And no matter the speed, I wanted more of it. Now I like playful bikes and I associate short chainstays with more pop off jumps and side hits. The 435mm chainstay on this size medium bike has me rethinking my views on chainstay length. The 435mm chainstay is by no means considered short these days, but the balance of the bike feels amazing. It bunny hops well, and it feels effortless off jumps. In the air, it feels just right.
Woo!
think that's the beauty of the 27.5 rear wheel. You get more strength, quicker acceleration, and torsional stiffness. As someone with shorter legs, I appreciate a short seat tube and a long dropper. Now this size medium, it has a very short 381mm seat tube. Contrast this to my Kostrikin BFE, which is 425mm. Coupled with that smaller rear wheel, there's an infinite amount of space to move around the bike. It makes remounting the bike on steep sections way easier. And the low standover has saved my ass a couple of times. The camera doesn't show it, but there's a decently steep ravine to the left. Where the f did that come from? It's as easy to dismount as a dirt jumper, and I love my dirt jumper. So who is this bike for? In this configuration with 160mm of travel, this is a bike that wants to be ridden fast. The steeper and faster the trails, the more this bike wants to charge down them. With the right fork and tire setup, you might forget this is a hardtail. On flatter trails, it's perfectly fine, but it won't win you any cross-country races. But it's fantastic off side hits and just jibbing around. This bike is in its element when pointed downhill. And it will rip in bike parks, and it's comfortable enough to take on epic rides. I'm going to try the HT Trail with a shorter 140mm fork and some other configurations over the course of the season and see what this frame's capabilities are. In the meantime, I'll be seeking out some more challenging trails to ride this bike on. Do I have any complaints about this frame? Yes, I do. 2. First off, it would have been nice if this bike had a UDH, but it's not a deal breaker. The Syntace X12 hanger system is readily available. The second is I would have liked to have seen the bike come with a chainstay protector. Again, another minor issue that is easily resolved with some masking tape or an aftermarket protector. Should you buy this frame? Well, if you're looking for an aggressive hardtail that handles well, is stable at high speed, and playful at the same time, this is your bike. This is by no means an XC rig. Its use case is fast downhill trails to gnarly enduro. It gets better the harder you ride it, and I already have plans to take it to some pretty gnarly places, so subscribe and hit that like button if you want to see more. At $699 for a triple-butted, ED-coated, Aura-built frame set, Kostrikin is practically giving these frames away. Other boutique builders are selling steel frames like this for a hell of a lot more money. In talking with Nick Kostrikin, he told me that this run is priced to get these bikes into more people's hands. With tariffs and the cost of raw materials going up, I guarantee you that version 2 of this bike will cost a lot more. Hope you enjoyed this leg of my journey. Thanks for watching.